If you've seen my last video, it kind of became unfocused after I was meddling with this thing. Anyway, today I'm going to have to go through the reopening of this switch mode power supply, and then I want to show you how to, well, hook it up to a cable. And fortunately, I don't want to do any soldering, number one, and number two, I was hoping to find one of these cables where I'd pulled it off an appliance and sort of threw in the corner. Turns out I didn't organize them properly and I can't locate one, so yay. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna open this up properly. No fingernails. So before, when I was talking about the really big pain in the ass, that was this thing here, which is just a black little widget. I've seen it used before. Say for instance, some computer legs will have like this sort of thing holding them down. You know, that's fine. But when it comes to a case like this, it's just no. No. Screws, screws, and more bloody screws. No, this shit. Let's just get out as much as possible. And then I undo this screw here. So if you did watch the whole video all the way through, I did undid the screw here, and that was a big mistake because it held this transistor in place, which really wasn't a good thing. So that's basically the screw that I had undone. My major concern would be these resistors over here next to this giant electrolytic capacitor. They're yeah, that doesn't look very good. And the fuse to replace this whole thing is right here. So when it comes to looking at this cage, just tap this bloody hole here and you could have used it. I suppose it's cheap. Anyway, I digress. Today is about getting this thing working. That's what all the toys are here for. So yeah, also the 10-turn pot here is picking up, sitting up, so trying to, oh no, it could be, still they're usually out on the side, so yeah. Okay, let's try to get this $5 POS working. I will also reiterate, if you didn't read the little thing at the beginning of this video, I'm an idiot. If you follow what I'm about to do, you do so at your own risk. So don't come blabbing to me if you turn around and electrocute yourself. Well, crying. Sorry, crying. You know what? I'm just going to leave that out. Just going to leave it out. I might actually try to fix that in another video. Who knows? It'd also be better if I was using a proper screwdriver. I've got two of them here. Okay, so that's not even latched properly. And probably shouldn't throw it around like that. Okay, that's better. Sort of. Partially. Properly, maybe. That's going to be useful at some point. No. Okay, so after that sort of little cluster, which hopefully I would have cut out, what I'll be doing is stripping this cable, this cable with these wire strippers. So the first thing to do would be to cut this off, which I can just go chunk like that, and I can throw that out. So the next thing I need to do is I need to strip these back a little bit. So I'll do that there. with all this chalk. Can I? Yes. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is pick a spade connector from my little box here. And I'm talking American. The first question is, what's the appropriate spade? Nope. Will that do it? Yeah, that seems to work. Now you can, if you are going to do this yourself, just simply put the wires in there, wrap them around, and be done with it. If you want to take the dangerous route. However, if you want to try to do this more the proper way, I should probably give that a little bit more wrong thing. There, that makes me feel better. Now, if you were to put this into a box, what you'd want to do is either tie it off or get a lug that you can put around this and then put that into the box so that there's a bit of, it's loose. You don't want to have this constant tension, otherwise it goes badly. So, if I strip off, say, that much, should I get a good grip? Yes, so that much is fine for this particular crimp. A little bit more. I'll say this, when I was doing my electrotechnology, we were using pliers, and oh boy, they save your life. They make life so much easier. If I end up redoing the course to try to pass the mathematics part, I'll redo all the fun stuff, or at least what I call the fun stuff. And yeah. All right, so I need 3 of these lugs. So it turns out there's also a blue. Is there a yellow? Is there a yellow? Yellow's too big. Is there another yellow that I can use? No. Unless of course I want to go like this. So what I'll do is, to save face, use 3 of these red ones so there's no confusion. Well, it is confusing because they're all red. Now to try to align them correctly, and I forget which is active, neutral, and earth. Well, there's a good way to find that out. A foolproof method for identifying which cable is what. Either remember the color code, or fire up your multimeter. Okay, so we should have, well, I know which one's earth, and this doesn't say which is live. Oi, oi, oi. Okay, so looking at this one, neutral, live, neutral. So neutral is blue. I probably won't remember that and have to do it again, all over again. So make sure that what I've done here is I've just made sure that I've removed enough of the outer coating or the outer sheathing so that I'm able to stick this in while crimping the copper and also putting a bit of as much pressure I can on the actual sheathing here. Really, you should have something to take hold of this, so if there is a bit of movement, it doesn't completely cluster it. So if I set them like this, I should be able to put this one in here like so, and pop these up the right way. Crimping's always fun. Because I've only got one set of hands, if I get that into place like so, upside down, get those two wires out of the way, there, and I can be happy with that. So that's one. That's two, and then try to get this third one on. So my preferred method when it comes to hooking these up is to use these sort of spade connectors. Although, honestly, I probably want to go and buy something locally from a dedicated supplier and not something I picked up on eBay if this was a long term, as this is just temporary or to play around with, whatever. Now on the outer terminal, so the output lines, which are these two here, you'd want to do the same thing. Crimp the wires as they were coming out. So to double check, neutral, live. Neutral, live. So we're going to do live first. So test this multimeter. Yep, that's still going. Live. Live. Alright, so I put that around like that, and then I'm able to install these in. Better if I use a different screw attachment. I do not like how that's moving around. Holy hell. And if my favourite teacher at TAFE could see me doing this, he would probably be swearing or shaking his head. Actually, be shaking his head. He didn't seem too much to be swearing. So, yeah. What else are you going to call a teacher that actually bothers to spend time with you when other students can't be bothered to show up for their class to help you with another class that they're not actually teaching? Honestly though, I hate the fact that I failed mathematics. I understood why I failed it. I knew that I was going to fail it without certain help, and I couldn't get the help that I needed externally or initially, and it's a cluster. Oh look, looks like I've already broken off some of the shielding that's underneath this. So that's to prevent the aluminium from coming in contact with the actual board. Okay, so neutral, neutral, live, live, and earth, earth. So earth, earth, earth. Now if we were getting a bit from any of these two, which is the live and neutral, yeah, there's a problem, and you'd want to sort of, you know, take care of that immediately. Alright, So now if I set this into DC volts, and I do the literal stupid thing right now, which is plug this in. Now this is plugged in. This is connected to the mains. Very bad. Very, very bad. Lock in. Okay. Alright, now number 2. Very stupid thing. I'm turning it on. Okay. And with that, I'm going to take the positive to the negative to the negative prong. And I'm going to take the positive to the, wait, can you even see that? Nope. Can you see that now? Yep. Okay, so positive and negative. Just to show everyone, when I connect it here, nothing. That's because I forgot to plug the power back in, so I'm going to turn that off, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. So, let's do that again, shall we? It is plugged in, so it is dangerous. And now I'm going to turn it on. Now the LED's on. So when we touch these two to here, we should get about 240 volts, which is good. So when I switch it to DC, and I go negative, and I go positive, I'm getting 24.05 volts. Now I can hold that in place. I can grab my little screw. Let me get another AAA. I can grab you. And I can start adjusting this. So that's obviously dropping the voltage down. But I want 24 volts. 23.5. Hmm. 24. 14, 23, 22. Alright, so that should hit the plus minus just fine. So I have tuned it, although there was no real reason to. Oh, that's another thing. If you really wanted to be a bit sort of fancy, you could desolder this lead here and actually attach it onto the case or whatever you're using, and instead go about that. Alright, so what am I going to do now? Turn it off. Now, despite it being turned off, oh no, LED slowly goes out. Something my teacher sort of mentioned, and I'll say this on here. When I'm plugging this, you've got the idea of always grabbing a hold here. I usually do. It's best, however, to grab here, where I was trying to take it out with one hand. I was using my fingers here. If you do that, your fingers can slip, and you can see how you'd have a bad day. Very bad day. And these gloves are not insulating enough to protect you from, well, zap. Okay, so despite the fact that I hadn't done anything safe in this video whatsoever, and anyone trying this could potentially kill themselves. I'll say it again, I'm an idiot. If you do any of what I do in my videos, you do so at your own risk. Just to be clear. This is very stupid. This is very dangerous. Need I say more? And anyway, with that, that's basically how I'd hook one of these up. Honestly, I'm sort of in the point of being 50-50 about using these sort of lugs permanently. You would want to check them after a couple of months of use just to make sure there's no corrosion. Should have used one of these that had actually labelled. Yeah, see, earth is labelled on this, but the neutral and the active are not, which is bleh. So yeah, that's installing spade connectors on a power lead to use one of these power supplies. What the hell? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. 24 volt plus 1.8, and that lists it as 1.75. So PowerTech and the Soanar, which I believe this would have been the actual original manufacturer. Yeah, they've got different ratings. So whether or not the PowerTech just simply splashed their own thing on here, or what, I don't know. But alas, that was this video. I had some fun, almost killed myself, and I don't know, really, I just thought this would have been a fun video. If you do decide to do anything like this, make sure you get the supervision of a qualified electrician, or at least someone with the relative certification to perform such an actual task itself, because by not doing so you could be breaking certain laws or doing certain things that could end up with you 6 feet under. Anyway, with that, yibbity yibbida.